Good morning. My name is Dolores Giaffri, and I am the chair of the Historic Preservation Commission. We are so happy to be here today on this joint effort between the main library, the Barron Arts Center, and the Historic Preservation Commission, and our mayor has just joined us, so I don't know if you want to start, Mayor, because I know you have a tight schedule.
I think you're much better at it than I am. I do a tight schedule. You stop by, say hello. Please go ahead.
Okay. This is the second year that we're doing this in conjunction with the main library and the Barron Arts Center. And it's been a wonderful joint effort because it allows us to pool all of our knowledge and all of our interests to present to you today this program. We are very, very pleased, and I'd like to ask Cynthia Knight to say a few words to welcome you.
Good morning. I am delighted to be presenting Woodbridge Treasures. This is our second year in that we are exploring everything wonderful about Woodbridge Township and our outstanding history. This could not be done without the help of Julie Cohen and Dan Diaz. They are part of our archive department at the Woodbridge Library, and we're very pleased to even have an archival department, and thank you, Mayor McCormick, for helping keep history alive here in Woodbridge Township. This was a great endeavor and a collaboration between myself, Brandon Powell, that are here on staff, and of course the Woodbridge Library. I am sure there are many wonderful things, a snapshot of recreation and leisure activities, student life from Woodbridge Public Library. So this will be ongoing through, I think it's the April 5th. Oh gosh, we even got a better time out of it. So we are pleased to be here, and our hours of operation are listed on the website. I'm sure everyone that is here today knows our hours of operation. So please come back, enjoy everything. We have some refreshments following our announcements here today, and thank you for being with us.
Before I leave, maybe Bruce could tell us what it was like to have leisure opportunities back in 1850?
Sure, sure.
I thought it was a little before my time. I was pretty close, but
On a serious note, I'm just looking at this Women's Club of Ford. They had their last meeting last week.
Really?
And they had a bunch of money left in the bank from when we bought their building, and they donated a lot to all kinds of different causes.
Wow.
It's amazing what they did. We're trying to figure a night we can get them into a council meeting, before a council meeting for a proclamation, the ones that were still, somewhat active. So maybe we could coordinate that with all of you.
Okay.
And work that
Sure.
together and get some kind of event going with it. Because there's
Sure.
about 8 or 10 left.
So it's a good thing that we have them in our brochure from
It's really
Ford's.
good. I didn't
That's
just
good.
think of that.
on the exhibit too.
And the exhibit today.
Yeah,
So,
maybe we could tie something in with them since they're,
yeah, so
they're
it's,
dissolved, essentially. There's enough left that it would be a nice little.
sure.
I mean, what I wanted to do was let them explain who they gave the money to
Okay.
and why, because they had over 100 grand left by the
Wow.
time they filled it up. And they were dividing it up amongst different groups. They worked
Okay.
with us to make that happen.
Sure, we'd
That'd
love
be
to
really
do it.
cool.
Absolutely. I wanted to thank the Historic Preservation Commission. We are a small group, but we're pretty mighty. And we're so pleased because this is our 15th brochure that we are launching today. We started out 15 years ago doing a brochure on Roy Avenue, First Presbyterian Church, Trinity Church, Barron Arts Center, a number of the houses along the way, the Keating House across the street. So we've come a long way, and now, if you look at our brochures, you will see the rich history of Woodbridge Township that has been preserved on paper. And thank heavens for the library now sharing all of this knowledge beyond with all of you. So we're very, very pleased about this venture, and we know that it's going to go on for a long time. I'd like to introduce the members of the Historic Preservation Commission who are with us today. Dan Diaz, where are you, Dan? Dan D'Arcy, Ashley Carbonoglu, Bruce Christensen, Brenda Velasco, Julie Cohen, Miguel Martin, John Landy, Courtney Lowry, Frank Pelsman, and of course me. So we are small, but we are mighty, and we do a lot of work when we go through the brochures, helping Frank, who is the one who really puts them all together now for us. In addition to that, I'd like to recognize the library, Monica, Julie, and Dan, who have just done an outstanding job. Following our presentation today, you'll have time to look at the exhibit which coincides with this brochure. And it's amazing to see what went on in Woodbridge a long time ago. This town has so much information, so many activities that went on that most people have no idea about. And we're so happy that we can bring these things to you, because if we don't do it this way, it will all be lost, and that would be very, very sad for Woodbridge Township. I'd like to ask Monica to give a little welcome.
Thank you, Dolores. It's an honor, and it's an actually great opportunity to put all of our energy together at a time when you're launching the 15th edition of the Walking Tour of Woodbridge, and to bring the theme together to share what the library has been saving for many years. Takes a lot of energy to keep them in the condition you see them here, and I have to give Julie Cohen and Dan Diaz, who are also working for the library, that the credit they deserve for gathering things and for bringing it together. Thanks again to the Barron Art Center, the staff, the Barron Art Center, for including us in this exhibit and in this project. I'm very proud to introduce Julie Cohen, whom I've watched work at the library from library assistant to library associate and now to librarian. Julie Cohen.
Thank you, Monica. Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Julie, and I am a librarian at the Woodbridge Public Library and also a member of the Historic Preservation Commission. I want to thank you all for coming out today to celebrate both the launch of the HBC's newest brochure as well as the opening of the second annual Woodbridge Treasures exhibit, which was curated from materials from the Woodbridge Library Local History Archives. So everything you see here is actually from the library, and we're so happy to be able to display it here. So the partnership that the library enjoys with both the HBC and the Barron Art Center has been wonderful for the community, and I hope to continue working alongside both these entities in the future so we can provide many more opportunities for education and awareness of our township's history. Thank you to my fellow HBC members and to Cynthia and Brandon of the Barron Art Center for all their help and support for this exhibit. Sorry guys, I'm not good at public speaking. So thank you as well to the library board and of course Monica Appinger and Marianne Ralph for their continued support and enthusiasm. We're also grateful to the Woodbridge High School principal, Scott Osborne, who was instrumental in helping to preserve the Woodbridge High School collection. And thank you to my library colleagues, especially Dan Diaz, for all his help. He's, as many of you know, a wealth of knowledge and a complete pleasure to work with. So this exhibit is officially titled Woodbridge Treasures, a snapshot of recreation, leisure activities, and student life from the Woodbridge Public Library archives. We aim to present an overview of the daily lives and activities of individuals in the township's history, through documents and photographs relating to recreation and leisure. We also wanted to highlight student life through both academic and extracurricular activities. And many of the items we have relating to student life are from our Woodbridge High School collection, which we received as a generous donation last year. We were once again able to follow the theme of the newest HPC brochure, this time on leisure and recreation, and there is some overlap, as you'll see in parts of the exhibit like the Speedway, Boynton Beach, and etc. There are a few things I'd like to highlight for you. On display, actually behind me, are several issues of the All High News, which is a student-published newspaper from Woodbridge High School that ran from the 1930s through the 1970s. It's part of the Woodbridge High School collection, which is represented here, also on this side, primarily through student newspapers and photographs, and it provides a wonderful look into the lives of Woodbridge teens through a historical lens. Also on display are photographs of residents enjoying many opportunities for recreation available in the township. We have postcards of Boynton Beach. Actually, out here in the hall, you'll see youth activities like basketball, archery, and families enjoying a day at Bowtie Pool. There's also several photo albums belonging to a Seymour family from the late 1800s, early 1900s, revealing the moments that they chose to capture, whether of their children playing or spending time by the water or even showing off their dogs' new tricks. There's also some correspondence from a librarian of the newly opened Barron Library in 1877, which is involving book purchases. So maybe you've read some of these titles yourself. I invite you to browse the many ways that Woodbridge residents and visitors chose to spend their time through sports events, seaside getaways, family outings, social clubs, and more. Thank you again for coming today. And I'd like to turn things over now to Frank Pelsman from the Historic Preservation Commission.
Thank you, Julie. Good morning, and thank you to everyone who came to for the launching of our brochure number 15, Fun and Games, Leisure Opportunities in Woodbridge, 1850 to 1950. The commission used 1850 as a starting point because prior to the mid-19th century, Woodbridge, as was the case with most towns in our nation, was a rural community. Rural living, whether you worked on a farm or just regular frontier living, didn't provide much time for leisure opportunities. It wasn't until the second half of the 1800s, with the emergence of the Industrial Revolution, as we entered the 20th century with the birth of urbanization and the implementation of the standard 40-hour work week, were residents now seeking some form of participation in fun and games on a town level with the extra free time that they now had. During this time, immigration played a huge role, not only adding to the urbanization, but also with the different types of leisure opportunities that were now available to the residents of Woodbridge. For example, most avid golfers could tell you that the birthplace of golf was in Scotland, and it was actually a Scottish immigrant who came to Woodbridge and designed our very first golf course at the Colonia Country Club. As you'll read through this brochure, you'll see that leisure opportunities were not only for the athletically inclined or for the sports enthusiasts. There was something for everyone. There was drama clubs, fife and drum corps, women's clubs, motorcycle clubs. We're even spending a day at Boynton Beach, which is now the Seawarren section of Woodbridge Township. For residents at that time, a day at Boynton Beach was a very short trip to escape the daily grinds of the work and home obligations. A large section of this brochure is dedicated to the Woodbridge Speedway, which reached the height of its popularities in the 1930s. I can go on and talk about all the subjects in this brochure, but I would much rather you all take one home and inform yourselves. Much thanks goes to the Woodbridge Township Historical Preservation Commission for its research to acquire all the material that you'll find in this publication. If you enjoy looking at old-time historical photos, this is definitely the brochure for you. So again, I thank everyone in attendance for coming down, and as we always do at these launches, we now open the floor to anyone who may have a question for the commission, or if you would just like to reminisce and perhaps share a leisure opportunity experience in Woodbridge, feel free to do so. Thank you. Yes?
I have a question. Does this include up to 1950, or could it be the 1990s?
It goes from 1850 to 1950, so it would be, in the 20th century, it would just be the first half.
Of the first, yeah.
Yes, it doesn't go beyond 1950.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have limited space for each brochure, so,
Okay.
yeah, if we find that there's a lot of feedback and a lot of interest in this particular brochure, we certainly would open up the possibility to perhaps doing a volume 2 of this brochure, 1950 to current. So that's something that we certainly would explore the possibility to do.
Okay, because there's a lot of history with the second half of,
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely, yep.
especially with hockey.
Yeah, there wasn't too much hockey in the United States during that time. It was mostly north of the border, I know. But, golf became like a very huge recreational sport during this 100-year period. And I think it was pretty ironic that you had a Scottish immigrant who actually designed the very first golf course, because that's really where golf began. That was the birthplace of golf. Any other questions? Comments?
Birthplace of golf in New Jersey?
I don't believe it was New Jersey, no. I don't think it was New Jersey. It was the first golf course in Woodbridge Township. Yeah, there were other areas in New Jersey that had golf. But in Woodbridge Township, it was the first one. And that was the creation of the Colonia Country Club, which we all know is still a pretty vibrant place now. And it's a definite place for not only golfing, but for a lot of social endeavors. And that's a big part of the leisure opportunities. It was just a means to bring the town together. Yeah, I know it began as, hey, we now have free time. What are we going to do with this free time? And that's why a lot of these clubs were formed. But I guess the residual or the side effect of that is it did make the residents a lot closer, whether it was friendly camaraderie and athletic events, whether it was, if you were musically inclined, you had different people that joined the fife and drum corps. So it was a pretty important tool to bind our town and make it closer knit. Yeah.
And during the time of the Speedway, the train and buses would bring people to Woodbridge from all over the east, not just New Jersey, but New York and Pennsylvania. And the women would come with their fancy hats and, and their gloves, and they're all dressed up, and they would sit and watch the races on the Woodbridge Speedway. And they brought in racers from all over the United States. Unfortunately, as you will read in the brochure, we did have some deaths on that speedway, but the racers came from all over the United States to race here in Woodbridge. And now that is where the Woodbridge Stadium sits, the high school stadium.
Yeah, a lot of the venues that you'll read in this brochure for the leisure opportunities, the Speedway was one, Boynton Beach. They were really huge in the state of New Jersey, and when everyone then, at one point, when everyone was able to afford automobiles and they became available to the common person, people then jumped in their cars and decided to explore, and like Boynton Beach was probably the place to go to in New Jersey. Until the automobiles, people then were able to explore and experience the whole Jersey coastline, and certainly it took away a lot of the business and traffic from Boynton Beach. But there was a point in time, certainly during this period, where that was a place to go, not only for swimming, but as you'll read in the brochure, there was a lot of activities. It was a carnival atmosphere every day, and it was a wonderful outlet that people were able to use to just get away from the home and the work obligations. Yes?
Boynton Beach get its name?
out of Boynton Beach. There was an individual named Boynton. He decided to donate his time and his money. One thing that's interesting is he was like he was like an abolitionist for alcohol. So that's why there wasn't a drop of alcohol on Boynton Beach, only because he was against that type of thing. He was in a temperance movement. He was totally against it. But yes.
Yeah, and actually going off the temperance movement also, the lot of land where the municipal building stands now was called the temperance lot, because all these temperance organizations prior to that lot being developed on would actually go there and picket for temperance movements. So temperance was actually a huge thing in Woodbridge Township for a very long time. And I think Wendy even mentioned we had something called blue laws, which were basically like you couldn't drink and you couldn't dance on certain days. So temperance was definitely a big factor of the leisure here in Woodbridge.
Yeah, Boynton Beach was proof that you don't have to drink to have a good time. But they did have a smoking room, so I guess there were other vices that they.
Is there any association with Boynton Beach in Florida?
I'm sorry?
Boynton Beach in Florida, is there association?
Not that I'm aware of, no, I don't believe.
My brother lives in Boynton.
I think that's just coincidental.
But there is a connection with Dr. Albee and a town of Nokomis in Florida. Because if you go to Nokomis in Florida, Dr. Albee was a person of a surgeon, a historic individual who was a doctor, and during the war helped to have the hospital built in Colonia. He lived in Colonia, but he founded the town of Nokomis in Florida. And if you go to Nokomis, which is outside of Sarasota, all the streets are named Nokomis Way, Nokomis Place, Nokomis this. And my friend lived there, and I thought, I never heard of this town. So I looked it up, and son of a gun, there it was. Dr. Albee founded that town, and his name is down there all over the place. It's amazing. Just amazing.
I live across the street from where he had his hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And Abbey Lane is right down the
Right,
street.
exactly.
Yeah.
A few years ago, we had it's actually some there, we have a World War I brochure, and probably the biggest section of that brochure is dedicated to the hospital or the area that he created for many of the World War I veterans who came back with a lot of disabilities and injuries.
That was completely erased though. I mean, what happened to it? You go there now, you wouldn't even have any inclination.
The war ended. We only entered the war for 1 year. We were preparing to send the troops over, and they had the funding. And then the war ended in 1918. So the hospital was only open 1 year. And then Dr. Albee went on as a leader in New Jersey for orthopedic and rehab. The idea that you may have a disability, but you go for rehab therapy. The hospital is a great achievement, but his other things, the rehab and training, physical therapy, was so important, and then he was on the state level.
And those prosthetics that he invented are still in use today, still in use. It's amazing. We have no idea of the people who contributed to our country outside of Woodbridge Township, who lived in Woodbridge Township. It's amazing. Just amazing.
Yeah, and because of the war effort, you had a lot of government funding, so you had a revenue stream coming in to keep it open. After the war, that revenue stream ended, and actually, Mr. Albee, we were, I think, the third choice, perhaps, for that. There were other more populated areas, but the government just said no, and his persistence, he actually went to Washington and fought very hard to have this hospital. And with the little funding that we had, it was only made possible because, and I don't recall the name, but there was a person who donated the land.
Freeman.
Who?
Freeman.
That's it, Freeman. Freeman donated the land upon which that Army hospital stayed. Yeah. So it really was a lot of donation, a lot of his time, and limited funds, but whatever limited funds we had just obviously completely dried up when the war was over.
Wasn't it mostly about tuberculosis?
Mhm.
They used to bring people by helicopter.
Yeah.
To his hospital because tuberculosis.
Yeah.
I thought that was Roosevelt Park, tuberculosis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was in Edison, right, the Edison section of Middlesex County.
Quite a while, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right, the alcohol ban down by the water is about to end because we're completing the tiki bar down by the water, a place to just relax and if you choose to have a drink and some food. The other interesting thing is the Colonial Country Club and Golf. A number of years ago, when Brenda Velasco was on the council, we had this major issue that they couldn't sustain their membership. So they were seriously considering selling it to a developer.
I remember that.
Which had a reputation for building condos, density. And we were able to negotiate and get some Green Acres money from the county to preserve it forever. We own the building rights on there, we meaning the township. So it will remain the way it is. And the interesting thing is what really helped us was there's a number of ponds on the property at the golf course. So we were able to declare it wetlands, which offers a big protection. So that's future, or not future, recent history.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy about those tiki boards. I don't know if Mr. Boynton would be happy about it, but I'm happy about it. I'm thrilled about it.
It's down the end by Mr. Williams Park right there, and there will be a walk bridge that will cross over the creek beyond the marina to extend the ability to walk not only on the peninsula of Warren Park, but to cross, not Warren Park, Alvin P. Williams, and then cross over the creek and walk in that area there, which will be developed. And at the same time enhancing the waterway itself so that pleasure craft boats can come in and out. So.
Well, the township has done a remarkable job renovating that area. I mean, it looks great. It's really a crown jewel, one of the crown jewels in Woodbridge Township. Great job they've done.
By 1927, the resort had its run. Like, why did that sail go down?
Which one?
Built the bridges. When they built the bridges, people started going down to the Jersey Shore. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. I mean, people just got in their car, they explored the whole Jersey Shore, and, you know, we had the automobile, yeah, well, you know what? Progress is usually the worst enemy for historical preservation. Sad to say, but I know it's necessary, and you know, we don't want to be horse and buggy the whole life, but progress has really been an enemy for historical preservation.
So in 1927,
Most everyone, automobiles became available to the common person.
no one was going anymore, so they sold it to...
Yeah, I mean, it was what was really a short trip to Boynton Beach. Now, hey, you know, we can get in our car, we can go to Atlantic City, you know. I mean, we had competition. It created competition.
Frank, there was also fires
A lot.
at Boynton Actors
Mhm.
Beach. So they were dying out
Yeah.
before the automobile took off so much. They had problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, not only the automobile, but I know people who live like in Caldwell and up in that area, and they would take the train down to the shore.
Yeah.
Down there, because they have the New Jersey Coast,
Oh, yeah.
what they call it down there. A lot of people went down by train because they were now given more free time to do activities.
Yep. That's true.
So there was no movement to save the beach or anything like that you were aware of?
And then what also happened is when the oil refineries came in there, they just completely polluted that whole. It wasn't safe to swim in those areas, even though there were venues that, you know, on the shoreline that you were able to enjoy. Actually, going into the water was not recommended when they had the industry in the oil refineries there. So that it made swimming hazardous, unfortunately.
Yeah, they sold to oil already, like in the late 20s, I believe was the first contract for oil companies to come in and start like building businesses there.
Yep.
I was gonna say, I remember as early as like 35 years ago, my dad would take us fishing and there were signs everywhere that you couldn't take the fish
Right.
because of how contaminated it
However,
was
now
down
it's
there.
It's much cleaner now
It's
because
really
a lot of the
nice.
refineries are gone, and you can just see the fishermen fishing right in the Arctic Kill right there.
Well, I think it was fairly recent where we got some funds from New York. I think to avoid a lawsuit, we got some money from New York to clean up. Because a lot of the debris and pollution was coming north of us. It wasn't even our doing, but just the way the waterways worked, it just became polluted from a lot of the New York industry. So I know we fought hard. I don't know if it was Woodbridge, Middlesex, maybe a combination of both, got together, and we were able to get a big chunk of money for cleanup, and that's what's going to make what you were talking about, Greg, the whole landscape of that Seawarren area very, very nice now. Yeah.
I got a question with the Boynton Beach area, and Seawarren and Park. How important was the role of baseball in that area at the time?
It was the whole Woodbridge Township, without necessarily Seawarren. I don't know if there's a correlation between baseball and Boynton Beach, but what was happening was a lot of organizations, the police departments, a lot of church groups, they actually formed their own team. And baseball was really instrumental in, again, bringing the town together, having people intermingle with each other, and just having that fraternal atmosphere that you really need a town to have in order to flourish. So, yeah, I mean, I know we have, I think there's a picture of one baseball team that's in this brochure, but, you know, every group, every organization, whether it be church, police departments, of course, schools, you know, baseball was pretty big during that time. Baseball was a big activity to bring the town together.
Yeah, especially with in the 20s, the 30s, New York over with Garrig and Ruth and like even previous, like I know baseball was formed back then.
And again, immigration played a big role in that. I mean, you had like you had concentration of different ethnic groups in different areas, and you know, another way to bond together and form their own team and then play other groups, not only within Woodbridge but even outside of Woodbridge, like you say, New York. So it was just another example of leisure opportunities bringing the town together.
Did Woodbridge ever have like a minor league AAA team or anything like that?
No, I don't believe there was a minor league team like a AAA now. I mean, it was just more recreational. There were just more recreational teams in Woodbridge. Okay. You know, as a little bit of, I guess, a sneak preview, we can tell you that what's in the works now for next year's brochure, we're going to have what's called a parade of mayors. We're going to start from the very first mayor of Woodbridge Township. And because of the number of mayors that we've had in the town, it's going to be a 2-volume. So it's going to be the next 2 years. The next 2 brochure launches are going to document all the different mayors in Woodbridge Township, what their contribution was during their terms here in Woodbridge. It's still in the works, so we don't exactly have a specific time frame for each brochure, but we do know we're going to cover the whole parade of mayors for the next 2 brochures. So I guess that's something you could think in the back of your mind and know that the next 2, we definitely are going to be going at least in the next 2 years of continuing these brochures launch. And we're going to, you know, continue to do it as long as we can, fortunately, get funding and have the money and the funds to be able to put this out. And that's always been a good thing. Fortunately, it's never been an issue, so until that is, we're going to continue to research, we're going to continue to write, and we'll continue to launch these every year. And we hope that you can come each and every year and maybe talk it up and bring some more people. That would be great. Okay? Thank you.